Julie Borowski, who does her stuff on her own YouTube channel, and also has been on a few news shows here and there talking. She now also does a regular little video with FreedomWorks called Real Talk with Julie Borowski, or however you want to pronounce her last name, because Borowski is like correct in American, and Borowski is correct in the Slavic origin of the name. Anyway, she discusses, speaking of transportation and libertarian mindsets, she has a couple of words to say about the increased attempts to regulate the so-called ride-sharing services. The hey, I'm at the airport and I need to go here. Is there anybody can pick me up and I'll pay you gas money plus an additional fee type services. We're talking about Uber and Lyft and a couple of other ones that are out there as well. Well, she has something to discuss about that whole debate, and interesting to hear her take on this. So go ahead and give a listen to what she has to say, and you tell me what you think about it.
I'm a huge fan of ride-sharing services such as Uber and Lyft. I've always found them to be reliable, convenient, and safe. So, of course, the government wants to shut them down. If you're unfamiliar, Uber and Lyft are an app-based ride-sharing service. So if you want to ride someplace, you just use their smartphone app to request a ride from one of their drivers. Not everyone is a fan of ride-sharing services, though. State and local governments across the country are cracking down on them. They are fined, ticketed, their cars even impounded. It's now become a crime to give somebody a lift to the airport in exchange for money. But why? Many local governments and taxi unions say that ride-sharing is illegal. They say that Uber and Lyft do not comply with the same regulations as taxis. Taxi unions complain that this gives them an unfair advantage. To be fair, yeah, most taxi companies are heavily regulated by the government. There are rate, coverage, insurance requirements, limitations, and so on. But wait, if these government regulations are hurting taxi companies and making it impossible to compete with unregulated companies, then why not reevaluate the regulations? Why is the solution to put harmful regulations on everyone? Budding entrepreneurs can't afford to jump through regulatory hoops. That's going to cause many ride-sharing services to go out of business and cause countless drivers to lose their jobs. And that gives consumers less choice. We no longer have the option to choose a ride-sharing service. As is too often the case, big businesses are lobbying for government regulations to hurt their competitors. I say let's get rid of all that regulation designed to hurt their competitors and let businesses compete with each other in the marketplace to decide who's best. Plus, the market can regulate itself. Uber already has excellent insurance coverage and strict background checks because consumers demand a safe ride. Plus, there's all kinds of consumer review websites like Yelp these days that allow consumers to hold companies accountable. The answer isn't to make it terrible for everyone in the name of fairness. The better solution is to get the government out of everyone's way that's trying to make a decent living. And that means legalize ride sharing, give consumers a choice.
The way Julie Borowski describes it, I think my mic kind of glitched on me there, folks. I don't know if you got me going in and out or not. Anyway, the way Julie describes that, it very much reminds me what they're doing with Uber and Lyft. Reminds me of if you have read or seen the movies thus far, the third one coming out soon. But of course, I'm talking about Atlas Shrugged. And if you read Atlas Shrugged, which is better than the movies, the book, actually sit down and read it, folks. You'll enjoy it. What they're doing with Uber and Lyft is the same kind of things they were doing against alternative energy companies and new railways, which were really big in the book. Cars and everything like that had become so impractical due to economic conditions that railways have become the primary means of travel in the United States, like they are already in Europe. And they actually started over-regulating the railways to keep out any new competitors from starting new businesses, new companies. And same with energy companies. Some guy came up and started a new alternative energy company. It wasn't so alternative, it was a form of petroleum, but an alternative form of harvesting it, which, by the way, was current technology that was kind of cutting edge back when Atlas was written, which is now a type of technology that is used today, and it's become rather commonplace today, and that's called fracking, or fractured hydraulic drilling. But that was like a new thing back when she was writing Atlas Shrugged, so she had used it as though it had actually been developed as being a safe way of harvesting natural gas and petroleum in the year set up in the novel. I forget exactly what year it was. I'd have to remind myself, but there's only one company that was able to do it, and they had been able to tap the shale in I think it was Colorado region in the book. And of course, you can't have somebody being innovative and come up with something new that can compete against the established companies and possibly even outdo them. Oh, heck no! Have to install all these government regulations to stop free trade and the free market. And that's, although it was done in the book, that's what's being done in real life in many industries. But like Julie is talking about in her little video there, it's being done mostly on a municipal level against these ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft. They're doing it here in San Antonio. I heard about them trying to do it down in Atlanta. I think D.C. is trying to forbid them. Several cities and a couple of states are even looking at increasing regulations just to keep these new companies from being. And it's stifling competition, and it's picking sides in the free market for no reason other than somebody's lining somebody else's pocket politically. And that's what it boils down to, folks. Hey, here, take my money and put it in your pocket, or here, take these shares in my cab company or in my union of cab drivers and support these regulations that put our competition out of business. That's what's happening. It's happening all across America, like Julie had said. And I've seen heard the rhetoric and seen the attempts here in my own town to include our local corrupt chief of police, who has said that he's going to crack down and arrest the drivers of any ride-sharing services if he catches them, and huge fines and blah, blah, blah. So, folks, what do you think about that? Making your cab rides cost more instead of cost less and be more competitive, because they're crowding out competition using legislation and regulations instead of letting the free market decide what a fair, F-A-I-R, fair, F-A-R-E, would be to go from point A to point B. So yeah. Speaking of other things that are on a local level that can have national implications, folks. You all remember I talked about the debate between abortion Barbie Miss Pink Shoes Davis, Wendy Davis, and of course Mr. Wheels, Greg Abbott, and how that kind of went. How with every question Davis tried to sling mud at Abbott, and yet with every question Abbott got, he came up with a plan and brought up facts and reality, and it really wasn't a debate. It was somebody throwing mud at somebody who is coated in the Teflon of the truth, and it just slid right off. In fact, she tried to toss one huge cow pie at Greg Abbott during the one-on-one debate portion, where each one of them asked the other one a question. And she asked him about something to do with the funding of education here in Texas and why he was actually doing his job in supporting what the state's laws were as far as pursuing the court cases. She asked why it isn't just settled, and tried to tell him to basically asked him why he wasn't breaking the law, and he responded with, you want me to break the law that you supported and advocated and passed that says I'm not allowed to do that. So basically, she went to throw that cow patty, and it slipped out of her hand and fell all over her pink shoes and her beauty queen, prom queen makeup and hairstyle, and made her just look like the not going to use that. Not going to do my best to watch my language here, folks. Made her look like what she really is. Kind of held up a mirror, and there she was, all coated in her own cow pies that she was trying to throw at somebody else. So, now, the Burnt Orange Report has, and I mentioned them earlier, they're an extreme left-wing, very pro-Battleground Texas, very pro-Acorn and OFA group. And they're trying to throw some mud and sling some mud at somebody who's running for the Senate seat that Wendy Davis currently holds here in Texas. And the Republican Party candidate is Konni Burton, Mrs. Konni Burton. And she's a Tea Party favorite and a good friend of Ted Cruz, it appears. Very similar in a kind of methodology and ideology. Not saying that they were born of the same brain, but they both arrived at the same conclusions on their own after studying the facts. Well, the Democrat who's running for the seat, because Wendy Davis can't run for that seat and governor simultaneously, so she pretty much is giving up her Senate seat in her pursuit of the governor seat that she's more than likely not going to win. Well, down in the Fort Worth area, this Konni Burton is way ahead in the polls in Wendy Davis's little named successor for that state Senate district. District 10, I think it is. They're in Fort Worth. So, of course, the Burnt Orange Report has a attempted hit piece against Konni Burton. And if you read it, even if you are left-wing leaning, and you're listening to the show, which will kind of make you question things a little bit, but thank you for listening and having an open mind. But go ahead and read that Burnt Orange Report with that same open mind and realize that this thing is written as a direct hit piece against Konni Burton, and does not contain any links to any factual data. It's all conjecture and hyperbole. So as you read that, you can go ahead and research and try to find the facts yourself. Please do. And if you do, go ahead and send anything you find over to me if you can find anything legitimate, not just something that's alleged. Yeah, I'd love to see the evidence and data. But this article by the Burnt Orange Report demonstrates that Battleground Texas, your extreme left-wing group affiliated with Organizing for America or Obama for America or Acorn or whatever name they're using this week, basically Obama's little PAC, super PAC, here, their version of it here in Texas. They're scared. They're afraid of this Konni Burton and the fact that they're going to lose the seat to somebody who is more in tune with what to represent the constituents. Somebody who actually is going to represent the constituents and what they truly believe. And oh no, here is somebody who thinks like the common person instead of somebody who claims to think for the common person like Wendy Davis was, or her named successor, who I can't remember her name. I think it's Willis, but I'm not sure. So yeah, and that kind of thing is happening all over, folks. It's also happening in Ohio. If you look at the governor's race there, their Democratic Party hopeful Fitzgerald, it looks like he may even be quitting his bid for governor because his race, his campaign is that bad and taken that much of a hit recently, and keeps taking more hits to the point where he opens his mouth and he sticks his foot in it. He's even making jokes of it himself. He's talking about how he had hip replacement surgery and now he has an odd tick that every time he opens his mouth, his foot goes in it. He's even admitting that when he's going on his campaign speeches, which, he right now, more than trying to run for governor and trying to defeat incumbent Kasich, it's more like he's trying to throw support behind local level candidates, and it's not working very well either. In fact, the New York Times has a article about the how Fitzgerald's run for governor is actually hurting the race of the lower level Democratic Party members. And of course, Fitzgerald, it's not just when he opens his mouth. I mean, recently he was caught in a car with somebody who is not his wife and found that his driver's license was not valid. So he was driving his car without a valid driver's license, which means he's driving without a license, and was making out with a woman who wasn't his wife. This guy's character makes Bill Clinton look like a straight-edged picture of morality and fidelity, folks. And we know that Bubba Clinton was anything but fidelis and loyal and moral, at least when it came to those of not of his own gender. So, just think about that. And the race is imploding. So culturally, folks, people are starting to take a little bit more of a moral stance. In fact, people who of a more libertarian lean of saying, hey, what goes on in my bedroom is none of your damn business. They're still starting to sit up and look and say, hey, if you're going to do stuff outside of your bedroom in public view, you're making it other people's business, and perhaps you should take it elsewhere or not do it at all, because you know what's right and what's wrong. And if you're going to do wrong, but it's something that the government needs to keep its nose out of, it's morally wrong but not illegal, that is, then do it behind closed doors where nobody can see. And that's kind of the way things are going. And that's the way they were back in the days of our founders. If you think about people like Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was a libertine, not a libertarian. He was that too, I would venture to say. He was not a liberal, at least not by the modern definition, meaning liberal application of government, instead of liberal as in liberty of the individual, which is a conservative application of the government. He was a libertine. He liked his ladies. In fact, there's rumors that he liked his boys, too. No confirmation on that. Not talking about underage minors. We're talking about fellow men. Don't know. I've seen no proof of that. There's rumors, though. But we do know, and there is proof, that he liked his ladies. In fact, he was known to have a few companions of the female gender when he was the ambassador to France, so to speak. So, but he kept it. What's the word I'm looking for? I won't say he kept it clean, because I don't think he kept it clean, but he kept it out of public purview. He didn't flaunt it. He did what he did, kept it mostly behind closed doors, and didn't thumb his nose in the face of morality. He just said, it's my business behind my closed doors. Who am I hurting? Nobody. Unless she asks me to, in which case am I really hurting her? Because if she enjoys it, is it really harm? That was kind of his mentality. And, so right along with that, I mean, if you're doing it in public square, in front of everybody, okay, there you have issues, because then you're forcing your actions upon somebody else's, good senses, so to speak. You're forcing people to be exposed to something they may not want to watch. Now, yeah, they have the freedom to turn away, but come on, folks, you see a train wreck, you might not want to see the blood and gore, but you're going to turn your head and look anyway. It's human nature. You know what I mean? Anyway, so happening in Texas, in the Fort Worth area, happening at in Ohio, from the state level all the way down because of Fitzgerald. Wendy Davis, of course, her campaign is imploding here in Texas, which is having a little bit of effects, trickling down. her so-called running mate, Letitia Van de Putte, who's from my neck of the woods, where I'm currently